The world gets busy, maybe we are not as attentive to those particular issues.
How much food is wasted, Daniel?
In the Gulf region, fruits and vegetable that is being imported is over $30 billion.
How would you go from working with clients like Coca-Cola and Lexus to working with fruits and vegetables and taking on that mission?
There are millions of people who don't have access to food while we throw away so much food. And this is a high quality product.
There are millions of kilograms of food wasted every single day. And our guest today, his company HeroGo, reduces food waste by taking ugly looking fruits and vegetables and bringing them to market. It's a good cause and it's a good business as well. Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ahmed.
Honestly, your story is very, very inspiring. It's exciting. You know, there's so much food being wasted, and you're someone who started with a good cause and brought this into good business as well. Before I get started, I want to know more about Daniel. Okay, we know Daniel has built a business in the food wastage space. He takes ugly looking fruits and vegetables and he sells them to market. Is that a good summary?
I would want to say, perfect looking food that normally people would be confused about just because of what they've seen in the media. And allow people to reduce the cost of their purchases when they shop for grocery weekly, as they get cheaper products at good quality, but also doing good in the process.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that you saw a problem and a lot of food being wasted all over the world, and especially here within this area in the Middle East. And you're saying, okay, everyone's wasting all this food. How can I turn this into a business? And at the same time, it's a charitable thing because for every food you're taking, you're selling, you're donating 2 meals to the food bank to people in need. Is that true?
Absolutely. I think that, I never thought of myself as someone who would be in the food sector. And one of the things that, got to me was really looking at the total number of food that we grow yearly and the total number of food that gets to the landfill. It doesn't sit right with me that we throw food to the landfill and there are millions of people globally who don't have access to food. And this is where, I thought to do something about it. Of course, my first thought was really looking at it from a charity lens. But as someone in my experience, original Nigerian, in my experience, I know charity, I always say, doesn't work. There must be a better way. And as I was thinking about the topic area and the issue, this is where I thought there must be a better way for us to address, the societal issue. Of course, as I was doing more research, I realized that it's not just the social issue that we face; it's an environmental issue, and we keep talking about, let's fix the issue of climate change. And one of the things that I think is underlooked is how food contribute to solving the issue of climate change, especially when you compare with the total emission, that food waste in the landfill, cost to the planet.
The landfill, the transportation, all of that.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And
Yeah.
that was when I was like, there must be a better way for us to look at this. And that's how HeroGo was born. And, taking value, which is high quality food, and bringing them to people to be able to cut their grocery bill in half, by also doing good in the process. And so I thought to myself, but how do we give back? If not, this just becomes a normal business. And one of the things we looked at is, at scale, how can this go connect back to our why? So the why is make food more affordable for millions of people. And even though we're in the UAE and we're all blessed, and we all have access to food, we thought, okay, we're starting here as a company, in Abu Dhabi. How do we ensure that we can also put this into practice before we scale into other region where we actually have more impact? And one of the things that we thought about is for every box that we deliver, we provide 2 meals to those in need. So we make a commitment. And in most cases, we have to partner with the UAE Food Bank and other for benefit companies who exist to ensure that we're able to distribute this. But it's just the beginning. I think that, the more as we continue to scale is how do we, be able to do, 4 million deliveries, in the months as we scale. And
So
how do we?
what I know now, Daniel, is you have a digital platform where people can subscribe and they get like monthly deliveries, correct?
Correct, correct.
And these deliveries, what kind of food are we talking about?
So we're talking about high quality fruits and vegetable
Mm.
that normally maybe the size is too big, too small, or
Like farmers reject them if the carrot doesn't look that good.
no, farmers would never reject any product. Farmers love vegetables or fruit like their babies. So I would
They're the distributors
I
or
would
the
say, yeah, the
yeah.
the inefficiency in the
Mm,
supply chain,
mm,
the supermarket
mm.
would say, the cucumber has to be a particular size, like 6 inch, or the color of the cucumber is not green.
And sometimes the difference is very minor, right?
Yeah,
It's
of
like a small
course.
difference, like, okay, I don't want that. I reject it.
Of course. Or it
And
could just be the color, right? And you know how it is.
yeah,
Like you cannot guarantee the color of every cucumber to
yeah.
always be in a particular shape. But it's also very interesting that, while 80% of food that we eat in the Gulf region are imported, um, you know, 20% still has this issue. So the ones that have been segregated, which is part of the 80%, there's still a lot of waste that occurs just because of issues like change in demand. Mr. A, Ahmed said, I'm gonna buy, this strawberry for, 5 dirhams per kg. But if you get it for 3 dirhams, you buy it from me, right? So what happens to the guy who has the strawberries?
Goes to HeroGo.
it goes to a year ago, and
Yeah.
that's where
So
we
we're talking
start
about
addressing
fruits
it.
and vegetables.
So
And
we started out with fruits and
okay.
vegetables, and we've expanded
Mm,
because to really solve for food loss, we need to look at the whole, category of food.
mm,
So we're talking about high quality pantry products
mm.
that maybe the packaging during importation or after importation are damaged.
Okay.
They're still good quality, but maybe the packaging is not as pretty, it cannot be on the
Mm.
shelf. So we're able to reclaim those pantry
So
products.
even if there's something wrong with the packaging, it gets rejected as well.
Of course, I mean, when you go
Mm,
to the supermarket,
mm,
you've seen all the fancy lights that get shined on products,
mm.
right? So the packaging needs to look good.
Okay.
Or if they're near expiration,
Mm,
there's a limitation on the dates of products
mm,
that a supermarket would take. Like, for instance, there's some product that if it's not 6 months shelf life, it cannot be put in the supermarket. And this is where we come in. So think about all the products that importers, like pantry products, let's say your rice, your beans, that are still perfectly good, but maybe they would expire in the next 6 weeks, or they would expire in the next 8 weeks. What do you do with those if they cannot sell it to the supermarket? So this is where we come in, and we're also able to sell those type of products.
And I like how I think you mentioned on your website that you mentioned all the, let's say, rejections or some sort of things that would go on people's minds. Be like, oh, okay, this is not good because it's gonna expire soon. This is not good, but you're actually turning that around by telling them, no, it's still fresh, it's still good. They reject them, but we're offering them and at a discount. I think you go to up to 40% off for these types of fruits and vegetables on your website, right?
No, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think the first misconception where we talk
Mm,
about food losses,
mm,
the focus on the ugly vegetable alone.
mm,
But it's very important to know that it's not just the ugly vegetables, right? And it's also other categories of why food get wasted. We have more than 16 reasons, whether they're too big, they're too small, they're near expiration, the color is not right, the packaging is not right. When they cut the meat, there's these ends that, normally they would not sell, but it still has protein, or, the nutrients in it, right? And that's why it's very important, as a business, that rather than trying to sell, we're also in the business of educating consumers on how they can join us and
mm.
also spread the message and making sure that, we have less waste, food that goes to the landfill.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think education is such a big part of your business here, Go, because you need to, a lot of consumers, like right now, I'm sitting with you, I'm learning some things about, okay, if the packaging is not right, all this gets into, plays a major role. So I'm thinking right now, okay, I need to educate my consumers before I sell them. So it might be a bit difficult, right?
I think that if you really think about it, Hamid, if in your home, maybe, growing up, or, even now, when you go visit maybe, your mom or your grandma, there's some things that they've already taught us, which is, the tomato, let's not throw it away, or if we have excess food, Ahmed, don't throw it away. Remember, there's some people who need that food, right? So I think when we look at it from that perspective, there's less education that is needed because we are all aware of the issue. But as the world gets busy, maybe we are not as attentive to those particular issues. So from a business point of view, is just saying the same thing that we're all aware of, and people are being more aware to say, maybe if I go to the supermarket, let me first make a list of what I need rather than going to the supermarket and just buying everything that is, it's one buy one, get one free. Then I don't need it. Or, maybe just thinking about, when I get home, let me check my fridge to put the things that I just got behind and the things that I have before to be in front so I can use it so it doesn't expire. So it's just really reminding people of their daily habits of things that they're used to. And this is why it becomes very effortless to people, especially if they're also able to reduce their weekly cost of grocery shopping. So it becomes very natural.
How much food is wasted, Daniel?
I really like not to talk about like the big stats and talk about like there's over 800 million people who go to bed without having good food. But if we look at uncooked food now, before we even go to the cooked food, in the Gulf region, the total number of value of fruits and vegetable that is being imported is over $30 billion when you look at it
Wow.
in the Gulf. And out of that, due to change in demand, there's a lot of waste there. You're thinking about 30% waste. So there's good value in just one category. Now, once you start expanding this category into other pantry product, into meats, then good money is going to the landfill. And that's why the importers and the farmers are also looking at it from a P&L point of view to say, how can we, participate in ensuring that we protect our ROI and also do good in the process.
And this is where we say one man's waste is another man's treasure.
Correct.
Mm.
Absolutely.
And before I want to get more into HeroGo, but before that, I want to know Daniel himself. You grew up in Nigeria, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And you studied IT, I think a bachelor's in IT, and then you did an MBA.
Correct.
And then you started your digital consulting company.
So before that, actually, I had the opportunity to join Publicis. So I was working with Publicis, and I was fortunate enough to work on some interesting projects and clients before I had the opportunity to start my first consulting agency. So we were building enterprise tech for Publicis became a client. We had PwC, KPMG, and also automobile clients. And that's how I go into commerce. Of course, I used to program myself, and over time, there are younger people who are, I would say, smarter than us as time keeps going by. So I program less these days. But that's how my journey started. And we had a great clients and deliveries till I saw the opportunity that needed to be addressed,
Yeah, I
particularly
wanted
in the
to ask you,
region.
like, how would you go from working with clients like Coca-Cola and Lexus to working with fruits and vegetables and taking on that mission?
It's something that really still kind of I still think about it sometimes, but I think ultimately there's a good in every one of us, right? And I think that sometimes we try to solve things that maybe bigger than us, and I think that the issue of food waste didn't just resonate as food being wasted. It's more there are millions of people who don't have access to food while we throw away so much food. And this is a high quality product. We're not talking about the videos that we see of, people starving and, we just need to give them protein. We're talking about, you know, basic stuff. And it's not just giving people food, it's giving them nutritious food. Because what's happening when we talk about making sure people have access to food, we always just give them one type of food. But the way I look at it is, when you give people food, it needs to be nutritious. It needs to have some fruits. It needs to, they need to have some vegetable, and and then they live like they're supposed to live as normal people. But obviously, for us to be able to do that, if we look at it from a charity lens, I feel like you would always be in the same circle. We needed to create a for benefit business and impact business that focus on profitability, that focuses on the unit of economics. And once we're able to get that unit of economics and the scale, then our impact just continues, rather than a charity where we're always dependent on other people. And that's how I guess my mind worked, and I got drawn to the topic area, and I wanted to do something about it. And yeah, and that's how we launched, and people getting their boxes delivered, so they're doing good. And the people who are also getting their boxes are also contributing to this impact, right? So it becomes that win-win situation. That's why we say at HeroGo, you save food, you save money, and you save the planet. Everybody wins.
Were you scared before starting your business?
It gets easier, I would say. I guess, just this is my second company, so I would say, the second time really it was more, let's take all the lesson learned, and let's just do it, let's validate, see if people would care, because a lot of people say, in the UAE nobody cares about food waste, and that was not correct, because there are tens of thousands of customers that are using our service. And when you also look at it, on a national level, there's the NEMA initiative, which is a national food loss and food waste initiative that is also championing, how do we, solve for food loss and food waste in the region, right? So, and that's something which is, awesome, right? There are more people who actually care, about the topic area. But we needed to validate, because you have an idea, if people are not buying it, then it wouldn't work. So once we validated and it did work, we passed product market fit on the revenue line, we on on all other aspect of the business, and then we're now we're thinking about scale.
You mentioned that you passed product market fit, which
Correct.
is the most important thing when it comes to a startup. If
Correct.
you don't reach that fit, it's very hard to validate that idea to
Correct.
begin with. What was your darkest time in business? Like, when did you think that this thing almost broke me?
I would think about it more like when you work in those countless hours to get to a particular milestone, right? And then there has to be that balance between, I want to reach my KPIs, but then I'm also human, right? I need to sleep well. I need to also take care of myself, right? And this is something that most founders, we always make the mistake of. And that's when, I hit that reset to say, you know what? I have the business KPI, is great. We're trying to hit it, but we also need to think about founders, mental health. And I think it just involves that, aspect of really looking inward and saying, what keeps me going for the next 5 years, and what should I do, to ensure that I'm still fit to be able to continue running the business and growing it. Yeah.
You spoke about forced optimism.
Yeah.
You said forced optimism is not something good for entrepreneurs. We shouldn't force positivity. When did optimism lie to you?
I would say does every day. As founders, we tend to think, our idea would work, or our strategy would work, but it falls to the category that we always have to validate every aspect of what we're thinking
Are
about.
you a positive person?
I say naturally, yes, but if you think about things like, oh, it's gonna work, and you're positive, that's not how business runs. You need the way we started looking at it is we needed to make data make those decisions. And yes, I can be positive as an individual, but I also need to, validate. So ask people, get, users' feedback, and then have that data to be able to make a decision. And that's how, I think, we were able to continuously find ways that we're able to make decisions that actually move the needle. If not, founders have this thing where, we might get stuck in the loop.
How much money did you start with when building HeroGo?
So it was all, it's distant memory, but it was all in. So I was fortunate enough because, I had my previous company. So, I didn't probably have an Excel to say how much I did spend, but it was more about validating. So validating means didn't care about branding, didn't care about normal things that other people worry about. It was more, can we get 1 kg vegetables to somebody's door? And that's what we did. And I think that we tried to do that as crude as we could. So like partner with some of the farmers to say, you already have the product in the farm, you're not selling them. We can get you new customers. Can you pack the boxes, and basically, and that's something that they did. So if I was to look at it, I probably think the first money I invested would probably be maybe $5,000, and that's what got us started. Yeah.
Were there any companies in the same space when you started?
So obviously, when you look at food delivery companies, there are a lot of them in the UAE, right? And they're the big ones. But I think the misconception is about what we're trying to build. So there are a lot of food delivery companies, but we happen to be the first platform for the Gulf region that is designed to eliminate for food loss. And food loss means our primary look is vegetables that are 1 kg too big, too small, pantry product that normally will go to waste. We're not looking at cooked food. So we happen to be, the first company for the region that is using technology to address the issue of food loss for the region.
I think you combined your love for technology, and since you come from an IT background,
Correct.
uh, for this business, and you worked with someone in marketing, right? Do you have a co-founder?
So I tried to have co-founders. So I have some co-founders which I worked with in the past, but it never does work. And that's one of the
Why is that?
I, it's well, the way, first of all, late co-founders are great because once you get your product to market fit, I'm talking about doing, maybe your first $1 million. You're like, okay, you know what, I want to scale the business, and to be able to do it, I've gotten into, let's say $1 million, and now I need other people to be responsible for different aspects of the business and to scale faster. And you try to do that, but I guess if you don't go back to your why you started, then the vision might not be the same, right? And this is where the company or most companies might not be delivering on their mission, and obviously to ensure that we remain committed to our mission, we had to make great decisions that is best for the business.
And how many people are on your team right now?
So we're a very small
Mm.
team. And that's one of the things that we love. We using the advantage of technology to automate most of our tasks. So we're a team of five. Yeah,
Are you using AI right now?
yeah.
How?
You have to. I mean, so first of all, when at night I build little apps for myself to automate some of the daily tasks that I would work on. So that gives me more bandwidth. But ultimately, as a business, to continue to scale, what the core of our product is really understanding, human behavior. And so some of the internal tools that we use is, understanding the purchasing behavior of users, and also to solve for food loss, you have to deploy some technology to know what is growing, what is seasonal, portioning, likes, dislikes, without getting into more details. Yeah.
When you say human behavior, what did you discover that changed something in your business?
Human behavior is what also contributes to a lot of food loss, right? Like, what do you dislike when it comes to fruit?
Fruits. I like all fruits.
But you don't have any dislike. Like, you will eat it, but it's not. Do
I
you
think I'm not a big fan of apples.
right?
Mm,
So my partner, for instance, she cannot eat apple because she's allergic,
okay.
right? So like you, maybe you dislike apple. For me, I have a fruit where I'm like maybe not dragon fruit. I don't get the point.
Mm.
It's like it's tasteless, but it's nutritious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where human behavior comes in. So when apple is in season, there's going to be a lot of apple, right? So what do you do with those apples if people who don't eat apples or me dragon fruits is in season? It's also one of the reasons why product, if apple goes to your home, maybe you don't eat it, right? So understanding those human behavior helps to also solve for food loss and food waste, to make sure that you're still, for instance, promoting seasonality in terms of the products, but ensuring that, people are able to also have control on certain product that normally they would like and dislike. And that's how you also ensure that, where food waste occurs the most is in the house level. And if you're able to address that, particularly in the MENA region where food waste is 50% higher as compared to anywhere else in the world. So if you're looking at it from a house level, yeah,
That's crazy.
that's
Yeah.
just just because the people at home sometimes also contribute to it. So if you're able to have a little bit of influence on that, and educating on first in first out, what they get, what is the portioning, then you're also able to contribute to solving for food loss on the home level.
How many subscribers do you have?
Yeah. Well, there are tens of thousands of users on our platform. Yeah.
And each person pays around how much is the order size when it comes to the subscriptions?
So there are different plans that you start with. So we have what we call a flexible subscription. That's the new version that was launched on our platform. You're also able to select a fixed plan if you want to. But the flexible subscription starts at 65 dirhams. But just think about
Like,
it.
what do I get for 65
You
dirhams?
get up to it depends if you're a vegetable guy,
Mm.
right? If you eat a lot of vegetables, so you select the vegetable box, and then that you get 5 to 6 kg of vegetables, of different vegetables, up to eight different product. Because if I send you just cucumbers for 5 kg, maybe you're gonna waste it, right?
Good thinking.
Yeah, so I also have
Yeah.
to make
Mm.
sure that you have variety, and
Mhm.
that variety makes sure that you're able to you know, uh, eight different products.
Mm.
And also, I guide you with some recipes every week.
Mm.
But if you really think about it, 65 dirham for a family, one person or a couples, that's all they need for the whole week, right? And some people say, we don't cook so much. And this is where, the importance of saying, well, you buy products online like cooked food, but you forget you need to eat fruits too, right? So there's a mixed box, which is also starting, I think, about 79 dirhams. And then you're also able to, cook for the whole week. You also have fruit for the whole week, and that's how much you pay. If you were to make a commitment to say, okay, I'm going to get fruits and vegetables every week. So you have to think about this cost. You're gonna get into your car, or you're gonna drive to the supermarket. You're gonna make the same purchase. It's probably gonna be more expensive, and we're up to 30% cheaper once you start putting that details together. Then you're gonna drive to your house, and you're gonna put them in the fridge. What we give you on the alternative is you select the plan, we curate it for you based on your likes and your dislike. We start off with your baskets, and then you would remove the things that you like, that you don't like, and the things that you like, you would resubscribe to them. They would always go to your basket if it's available in season, and then it gets delivered to your home overnight, so before 7 a.m., and then you put them in your fridge, and the same thing happens weekly or bi-weekly. So you're getting convenience, you're getting reduced in cost, and also you're doing good in the process. So it's a win-win.
It seems like a big win.
It's a big win.
But how do you convince customers? For example, if I don't know about you,
Yeah,
like how can I know more about you? Like what kind of marketing are you guys doing?
I think most users are just great ambassadors, right?
Word of
Like
mouth.
word of mouth,
Mm.
they love, look at my boxes. So if you go on our Instagram on HeroGo Mina, they would just refer to, somebody else who's got their box, and, they're showing that they've gotten their box and how convenient and how cost saved it is. And the word of mouth is obviously helping. Of course, we have other channels of reaching to the consumers, like offline and online. Yeah.
How many farmers do you work with?
So, top of my head, I think we currently have over 40 importers and farmers that we currently directly work with in the region. Yeah.
And you're planning on expanding?
Of course, we continue is also about like demand and supply. So at the moment, we're continuously working with the current supply that we have, and as we continue to expand, in our database and pipeline, there are farmers who say, I have this product, but we are not able to serve them at this moment, maybe because of the distance, or maybe the products, what they have is just too little, because now we're talking about volumes. If you have 20 kg of lettuce, I would love for us to help, and we'd love to support small farmers, but by the time they calculate the time for them to send the 20 kg, then the cost also adds up. So we continue to expand the list. Yeah.
Don't you feel like you had to learn so much when starting HeroGo compared to your previous business? Because it feels like a million different things, logistics, fruits.
Yeah, I think the it falls down to, of course, yes, we had to learn a lot, but information is widely available these days. Second, prioritizing the importance of using technology really cuts a lot of what you need to do, like how you prep your orders, how you do your sourcing, and how you also do your delivery. So we're technology first company, so we don't do deliveries ourselves. So we have multiple partners who are involved in doing those deliveries. So our goal as a marketplace is ensuring that we connect farmers, importers, to be able to sell their product, and we bring in the demand, which is the consumers, whether it's office clients like Rolls Royce, New Balance, Total Energies, who are using the products like office fruit baskets in their offices, and we just connect those two together, and everyone is creating impact on one platform.
I think it's interesting. You're not working with individuals, you're working with corporate clients.
We work with corporates
Yeah.
and we also work with individuals. Yeah.
And do you think the opportunity moving forward is more with which?
We definitely need to continue to, um, I would say, drive impact with the users, because it's not just about, the revenue line. It's about continuously changing, habits and changing habits at home because, it's so awesome to see customers at home who they're like, since I've got HeroGo box, we waste when I go to the restaurants. Now I ask for a takeaway box because I don't want to waste any food, right? And I tell my friends, let's not waste that food. So that's definitely, something that we want to continue to do while we continue to expand, our corporate offerings. Yeah,
Did you raise money, Daniel?
yeah, yeah. So we raised our pre-seed and our seed.
Mm.
Correct.
And are you planning to raise in the future as well?
Yeah, so we're currently raising. Correct.
Where do you see the future? Are you going to expand to other countries?
Of course, I mean, it's so natural. Like, there's a lot more work to be done in the Gulf region and hopefully, back to, Africa. As it makes complete sense that, 50% more waste is occurring in the region just because of things that people can't control. And there's a lot of opportunities and, back ends that are helping to solve the issues here. We continue to convert value of food that normally would be at risk into, high quality products, and also making sure that they reach the end consumers at a cheaper rate. Yeah.
When someone orders a meal, you donate two other meals as well, right?
So when someone orders a box, our commitment, this is part of our own CSR as a company, is to commit in providing two meals.
So that happens after you take into account the profit, or is this baked into the margin?
So, like, I would say this is after we've basically, taken consideration of the, profit. So how are we doing that? So when you look at 10 kg of, let's say, potato, right? How many people do we think it can feed? It's a lot of people, right? So what we do, from time to time is either with, the UAE Food Bank or the partners, is to also personally, as a company, to organize with our customers what we call, giving back. So we go to, a facility where we bring, cucumbers, dates, hot meal, apples, and then you pack products and you actually go to those communities, right? So that's one way where the customers actually see, actively where that is, going to, how they're making impact. And, as we continue to scale, of course, we still have the business to run. So we can be doing this, every day. But the goal is to continue to look for partners, not just in the region, who can reach out to people who really need them, outside of the region. And that's why we commit every year to say, the total number of food that has been reclaimed for this particular year is X. So we publish our impact report every year to say, and this is the impact that we're doing. So not just from a food point of view, also from a total number of CO2e that's been saved and the total number of water that's been saved, because, when you plant an apple, water
Takes a lot of water.
Correct, yeah.
What's the biggest headache in your business?
Okay, I would say one big headache is, you're trying to drive value for, I guess, also the farmers, right? Or the importers. But to them, after a particular time, it becomes just, we're making money. So obviously, my purchasing team have to constantly remind them to say, well, remember these products, normally you would just throw them to the landfill. So be kind on, price changing. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that our product is still meeting the need of the end consumers.
So
And
it's the negotiations with
so
the
it's a
farmers.
negotiation, it's like you're on the stock market,
And do you have like when you're dealing with these farmers, is it like a struggle with languages, a struggle with backgrounds, or is it?
No, no, I think we're very fortunate in the place that we are, and obviously my team are also able to speak, the language that, the guys on ground would, because most farmers are not probably the ones farming, so they already, have a team who is running the operation and they deal with the operation team at the company. With the importers is very clear. I think because they're already used to international trade. So we've never imported any products. We just try to continue to find value in the UAE based on the products that is already in the UAE. Yeah.
And you guys are not profitable yet because you're reinvesting back into the business.
So we've been profitable at
Mm.
many times, but as a startup, we need to scale, increase our burn, reduce our burn, deploy more resources to build tech. But on a box level, we're profitable.
And how old is HeroGo?
So we're 3 years old.
3 years
Yeah,
old.
correct.
Do you plan on doing HeroGo for the rest of your life, or is that just a phase?
You need to always think about, in my view, every business as a business is driving value for investors, right? And investors also includes, the employees who are working day and night in the company. So for us is, we believe on the impact that we're creating, we believe on the why, and obviously the goal is to exit the business and ensure that value is being driven for the importers, the stakeholders, the farmers, the importers, food manufacturers, because everybody needs to win. So at some point we would need to ensure that we return capital to the investors, and also so all the team members who are working are also able to get some value from the time that they're investing into the business.
And from the entire Middle East, why choose to start a business in Abu Dhabi?
So it happened by fate. I guess I was here. I was working here. My first business was here. But I would tell you one thing: if you look at the growth rate in the business between 2022 and 2023, when we became part of Hub 71 startup in Abu Dhabi, I think it's a fabulous ecosystem where, not only, there's a lot of accelerator who are like, just join us and that's it. But I think that, the ability that this ecosystem is actually supporting startup with the resources that we actually need, and apart from the corporate connect, but the ability that you're saying, okay, this is more capital for you to grow more your business, right? You could see, there's a lot of growth that we got, with the investment from the Hub 71 program to acquire more customers, to spread the awareness. Of course, that's one part that most startups really love. They want to be able to scale fast, and capital is something that they need. But the ecosystem really, does help, to grow the business. The ease of being able to, register your business, and also the way we're getting the corporate connects, to be able to connect with corporate clients who are using the service. So where else would you want to run a business if not in Abu Dhabi and in the UAE? And there are a lot of conscious consumers too who are also joining in the mission. So I guess that's yeah, why I would say it's fate, but it's just I would say a fabulous ecosystem to grow a business.
And it's
Correct.
such an important cause and mission that Abu Dhabi really cares about addressing. Yeah.
When you look at it from that lens, then that's why it makes even the triple sense, right? Where else in the world that people are caring to solve for food waste, but the government is also doing a lot more than anybody else to try to solve for food loss, creating right policies that supports the whole ecosystem and bringing everybody together on the conversation. So I would say, from a startup point of view, being able to scale, having the right infrastructure, it's something that we cannot, run away from, and it's so important. And getting the right, capital, corporate connect, and also the right policies that supports our business. And I've been able to also speak to other founders, like in my cohorts, who you know who are also growing in other segments, right? Again, whether it's fintech, whether it's AI, whether it's in the climate tech space,
Entire ecosystem.
the ecosystem is thriving and is supporting startup to scale. Yeah.
What's something if you go back you would change?
If I was to go back, that's something that I think about a lot of time. Like, what would I do if I was to change something? I think it's something that I've not really gotten the right answer for, but change is something that I kind of think that is needed every day, because consumer change, business changes. So it's how quickly, just maybe the way I look at it is not about just the absolute change. It's more, how can I adapt to change? And how quickly can we adapt to change? So I guess that's the other way I look at it, because if we're able to adapt to change, then we're able to, address, the customer need. We're also able to respond to, the societal need in general. So what keeps me more at night is more like, how fast can I, respond to change? And it's evident that in our business, it's something that we constantly have to do to stay alive, right? The way we, respond to customers, the way we deploy new changes into our technology. And, yeah, it's something we always have to come to the fact that we have to change. And for us, a startup is every day. So,
You mentioned that you get tired a lot as a founder and you need to take some time off. What do you do for fun?
well, every founder, it's something that I'm sure you're very well aware of. What do I do for fun? I have to find something that is my peace zone, right? Something to disconnect me. And for me, it's the gym. That early morning, wake up, go to the gym at 5:30 in the morning, making sure I start right, and then going to the office very early before everybody else. But in the evening, to make sure that my head doesn't keep moving, because this is something that happens
You
to
keep thinking.
we keep thinking.
Mm.
There's something that I found that really works well. It's the sauna, right? I have to use 15 minutes every
Mm.
day in the evening, and this is before dinner, and I think it helps well. You sleep well, and at some point when I don't do it, then you're like, why am I not resting? Why am I not sleeping? But it differs from time to time. I recently started learning how to. I used to be a tennis player, but I started playing. I started learning how to play paddle, just to also add something in
Yeah.
during the week, just to make sure that I stay active, but also not make life just about work. Yeah.
And what do you think is the most important advice you could give an entrepreneur entering a similar space?
I'd say there's a lot more opportunity in the space, and I would say that any entrepreneur who is trying to address food loss and food waste should definitely go and try to address this massive issue that the global system needs. We need to fix the broken food system. um, but my advice is to pay attention to not just what they see in terms of like just the data. Is really get close to the actual users who are going to potentially use your products.
But isn't data the same thing as what the actual users want, or is it very different?
It's very different, right?
Mm.
Because you have to localize your data, and localizing the data means, yeah, you might hear that there's a lot of food waste that occurs. Some people don't even they don't differentiate between food loss and food waste. So, for instance, where are they occurring, right? And what is the biggest impact? Because at the end of the day, when you're solving for a particular topic area, is you need to look at where's the biggest impact. And most founders maybe are not paying attention to, where can I make the biggest impact. Of course, you could take your time and do your research, or take your time to prepare, uh, and you could be doing something very small at the start that prepares you for something big. And I think that if you look at it from just data point, you're like, yeah, I need to just launch, this app. I see everybody's doing it. HeroGo is doing great, and I think I can do it, better. But well, that's a starting point. But one of the things that I think is the data that you get from all the reports could be internationalized. So you need to first of all localize them, understand the user, and then try to listen to the end customers and see, will they pay for it, and if they would pay for it, is how long. Because I think one of the things that I also see other founders that I speak to when they start their first business is more like, everyone is telling us, we if somebody will pay for it, that's good enough. No, you have to figure out, I guess, what's the fastest way for me to get to product market fit.
How'd you get your first users?
Wow, that takes me yeah, I remember vividly. I think the first users was actually sending it to my, family and friends, right? So, which goes
Other
back.
than your family and friends.
Okay, so family and friends was very important, right? Because then you get the right feedback. But then we went directly to the market. We paid for ads. And then I remembered a user actually in JVC, the first user placed an order. And I was like, okay, now we need to, make sure that the boss gets there the next day, right? And then I call the user and obviously, say, welcome to the Let's Fight Food Waste community. I'm glad that you're joining us. I'm the founder. This is what we do, and yeah, and I remember that very vividly.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And when it comes to entrepreneurs going into that space and trying to create an impact like you are, what do you tell people who say that this is just a charity business? There's not much profit in that. Is there a lot of profit in this space?
I think the biggest issues that uh, impact founders face is that particular question. Is people are too busy and they always think, oh, the impact, and but doesn't really
It's
make
cute.
sense. It's cute.
Yeah.
Does it scale? That's kind of when we first started. But I think that what really changes everything is, when people actually care and they're buying your products, right? And then you make sure that your unit of economics make a lot of sense. And you're also competing with, traditional business who just care about bringing in money. If you're able to bring good units of economics, then it opens the conversations, I guess, with investors who are now saying, this is a great business. In fact, it's even a better business because you get more retention because people actually care.
It's sticky.
It's sticky
Churn
and
is
pays,
less.
and you have less churn, right? So when they look at it from that lens, then it actually brings a lot more impact. But I definitely think that there's a lot to be done, in the food tech and also in the impact space. As of course, um, most people don't look at us like, if I want to hire an engineer, it costs me the same amount the guy who is just building another, app would even more expensive, because the only difference is the engineer would join because he also has this, he wants to do good. But doing good doesn't mean he doesn't want to make good money. So as founders, we have to think about it that if we want to drive impact as a business, what really matters the most is that the unit of economics has to make sense first, and how scalable is this? And in a typical business where you're in subscription, is paying attention to obviously your retention, your cost of acquisition, and the lifetime. And if it then makes sense, then you're like, yeah, this is great money. And then, as a founder, you want to keep doing that. But what keeps you going when you have challenges is now your why, right? Because, I'm not just, getting food to the right place, but I'm getting good food that is also doing good for the planet, and also helping people to reduce their cost of purchasing food on a weekly basis. Then when you wake up in the morning, you feel like, okay, I have all these challenges, but I want to wake up to do this the next day. I want to do this, for the next day. And then it makes things a lot easier.
Can I ask you a challenging question?
Yeah.
Let's say we're in 2050.
Yeah.
And fruits are being grown in labs in perfect conditions.
Hopefully
What
not.
happens to HeroGo? Will you shift to another business?
The biggest problem that we have, first of all, is food grown in a lab, or adding chemicals to food. So if I look at it from that lens, it would be, we as a business, we're in the business of promoting healthy and affordable food. So it's not just getting affordable food, and it's not just getting food. The most important thing, I think, that the whole Gulf, need is affordable and healthy food. So we're not talking about processed food. We're not talking about food in the lab. We're talking about food that Mother Nature gives us, and Mother Nature gives us, fruits, vegetables, legumes, pantry products. It can be imperfect, and then converting them into great snacks, things that are not guilt-free. You don't have to think, oh, I'm having too many sugars, or it's processed in the lab. And so in 2050, our mission will continue to champion, how do I ensure that people have healthy but affordable food that is meeting their nutritional need for every day, and it's not just for them to be full. And I think when you look at it from that lens, then the opportunities endless, right? With a brand, because you're promoting affordable food, and people want to get
I think
cheaper.
healthy and affordable do not come in the same sentence, but what you guys are trying to do is put them in the same sentence.
Of course.
And working on that cause.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel, for such a great podcast. We learned so much about HeroGo. Good luck on that mission. Good luck on that cause. And I wish you all the best.
It's been a pleasure, Ahmed, and thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching us. Feel free to share your feedback and connect on our platforms. If you know someone with an inspiring story, email us at 100x.abudhabi@gmail.com. Stay tuned for more uplifting business tales.